Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Coach Action Jackson, and I'm here with another episode of Client Success Stories. This time it's Daniel, and Daniel got some insane numbers. He got his six pack, which is amazing, but here are a couple of the stats. He lost 13 pounds. He lost 5% body fat, getting all the way down to 9%, single digits. He also lost 4.5 inches off of his waist, really tightening up, while at the same time adding 2.5 inches on his chest and another inch on his shoulders, getting that nice V-taper shape that we all want. Daniel, you got the beach body. I'm so happy to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Coach. I'm very happy to be here. So my name is Daniel Naylor. I live in Virginia, originally from England, and I moved over to Virginia about 15, 16 years ago. I work in IT, and so most of the time, like we've spoken about, I'm sitting on my butt in this chair all day, every day. And so, yeah, was thrilled to meet you and get on this program.
Why don't we walk it back? We talked a little bit about the amazing results. We gave some of the stats, but let's talk about where you were before you started the program. So tell me, what was going on? Where were you at physically, kind of mentally, and what was that trigger that made you want to kind of take it to the next level?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I've been training on and off on my own for 15 plus years at this point. When I first started speaking to you and got into the program, I just got my tonal a couple of months before, had tried some of the programs. You were one of the coaches on them and was, really impressed with what I saw on there. Picked up a copy of your book and started reading it. And I was like, wow, this sounds like something that I could do. This sounds doable. But quite frankly, the more I read the book, the more I realized how much there was to it. And I really thought, I need to reach out. I need some help because I've tried to do this on my own for 15 years and I've had okay success, but I'm not where I want to be. And so that's what triggered me to put the call out, the SOS, and say, Coach Jackson, give me some help.
I love it. I appreciate the support, getting the book and everything. And look, I'm a big reader myself, so I love consuming content, reading, and then, of course, trying to implement. But kind of like you, with a book like this, right? It's called Seven Secrets for Chiseled Abs, but there's so much that goes into it. And it really is like a lifestyle transformation that you have to make. You have to have all these factors that go right in order to get the six pack. I compare it to climbing Mount Everest. When you're climbing Mount Everest, you need weather, you need the team, you need backup materials, you need to get kind of lucky, not get sick, not get injured, weather window, not too much traffic. You need all these things to go right. And it's the same thing when you're getting the six pack. You need your training, you need your mindset, you need your nutrition, you need to obviously get lucky, not get injured, not have any of these other obstacles, not get sick. And then, of course, you need that accountability, support, and coaching and adjustments along the way. So I totally get it. You get the book and it's like, hey, maybe I can do this. Maybe not. I need a little help. And I'm a big advocate of coaching myself. I've invested well over 100,000 in business coaching over the years. And some of the coaches that I've had have really moved the needle for me. So I commend you on making that decision and having the self-awareness to know where you kind of, have your expertise and where you might need a little bit of help. So you reach out, you join the program. Now, what was like, I guess, the first couple of weeks like? Because for a lot of people, when they first join a program, it can be a bit overwhelming. Did you feel overwhelmed? How did you cope? Like, how did you get your feet wet? How did the first couple of weeks go?
Yeah, the first couple of weeks were rough. I won't lie. They were tough. It was, it's a tough lifestyle change, I would say. Again, I'd done pieces and parts before. I had intermittent fasted in the past. I've done low carb diets. I've done pretty much everything out there. And so the individual pieces of the program I'd done, right? So I knew how to track macros. I knew how to fast, some of the things that I chose to do. What I hadn't done is put them all together at once before. And I also started right on the back of a vacation. I said to myself, Daniel, go have fun. You're on vacation for a week or so. Go kind of not let loose completely, but go have fun, go eat a little more than you would because Monday morning you're going to start this new program. And so I hadn't worked out on the tonal for a week or so. I hadn't been eating great. I hit Monday, I hit day one of the program and boy, did it hit me hard. but it was great. It shows how quickly your body adjusts, because I would say by the time I was getting through to the end of week one, it was tough, but it was doable. As I moved into week two, my body started adjusting more to the new food that I was giving it, the difference in food, the difference in workouts. And really, as I started to come out of week two, that was when I said to myself, okay, you can do this. Like, these are probably two of the hardest weeks you're going to do. And so if you can get it this far, you can go all the way.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I think you're right. A lot of people who work with us, they've done a lot of the things. They've done this and they've done that, macro tracking and keto and maybe low carb, and they've gotten some workouts and they've done some ab stuff, but they've never brought all the puzzle pieces together and really integrated them in making sure that they're working together to get the next level results that they want. So I love that you kind of like, or you talked about, we need all of this integrated, and that's what we got. And when you're doing that, of course, it's going to be challenging at first. It takes that activation energy, but you were obviously super committed. You were motivated. We'll talk about that more later. And then also in the first couple of weeks, you always have that highest level of excitement. So you get through the first 2 weeks, your body's making some adjustments, you're adapting. And what was the mindset like? Like, what was the switch? Was it you saw some results? Was it just being in the group? What was the mindset switch that helped you say, I can do this?
Yeah, I think it was a little piece of everything. It was, certainly being in the group and having that camaraderie. I think for me, that's one of the best things about the program. I've really enjoyed the community that we have and the way everybody helps build each other up. So even when you have a tough day, you can reach out there and you can be very human. And in fact, I know I reached out to you on a couple of chances in the first couple of weeks and said, hey, I'm struggling. I'm really finding it difficult. And just to get that support to say, you're not alone. Everybody struggles. You're not the only one. Keep up. You're seeing the results. And I did. I mean, of course, the first results you're going to start seeing is on the scale, before you start seeing some of the tape measure differences in the six packs. But yeah, just seeing those quick results a week in, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember being down a few pounds already within the first week and saying, wow, this is a measurable difference within just 4 or 5 workouts at the end of the first week. And so you're right, you have the extra excitement, you have the extra motivation at the beginning, and that's what really kept pushing me through. And especially, because it's an investment. I mean, it's a time investment, it's a monetary investment, you're investing in yourself. And I certainly don't like to back down from a challenge. And I've said, look, Daniel, you've said you're going to invest in yourself and you're going to give this the best possible shot that you can. And so I did. I just kept pushing myself.
I love that. I love it, because so many people, right, they don't want to commit out of whether it's fear or anxiety or just being vulnerable. And one of the first people that I worked with, named Michael, he did the first no pack to six pack transformation. And when I asked him in that first interview, I said, why haven't you done this before? He said, I never really wanted to fully commit because I was always afraid that if I committed and I failed, that I would just feel like a failure. And that hit me so hard because I can relate to it so much. And oftentimes we need to get leverage against ourselves and really back ourselves into the corner to make ourselves do things. And for me, I remember I got my first client, my first personal training client. I was in San Francisco trying to get clients for like a year, posting on social media, going on Facebook, Instagram, just kind of chatting with people or going to networking events, never actually doing anything. And then all of a sudden, my roommate moved out, just out of the blue, said, hey, I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to a different city and I'm moving out. And I had $4,000 in rent due at the end of the month. And I didn't have $4,000 in my account. And I was used to covering only $2,000. All of a sudden, I had to come up with another $2,000. And I got my first client within 24 hours of that happening, because all of a sudden my back was against the wall. And I go, I have to figure this out. I have to get some paying clients. I have to get them today. And that's when I started literally walking on the streets, like handing out business cards, talking to people outside the gym, being like, yeah, I'm a trainer. Like, I work in this gym over here. And then boom, I got my first client because my back was up against the wall. And the same thing when I got my online business off the ground, I was $60,000 in credit card debt. I just dropped another 10K on business coaching to get in this other program. And I was like, I have to make this work no matter what. Like, back against the wall, burn the boats, and then bam, I paid off that credit card debt in 14 months using many of the success strategies that we use in the program: progress principle, chunking, all that kind of stuff, tracking. So I love that you got that leverage against yourself and that you pushed. And here's the thing, Daniel, people are going to watch and see your results and they're going to think, man, look at this guy. He looks phenomenal. He looks fantastic. He's got the beach body. He looks like he should be on the cover of Men's Health. It must have been easy for this guy. Of course it was easy for this guy. There was no obstacles. And here you're saying is there were some challenges along the way. And I love that. What were some of the challenges that you faced across the program?
Yeah, I had a number of challenges. I mean, just from motivational level, of course, I think actually you put it in one of your PDFs, motivation starts running out after a while and you have to move from motivation to momentum. And so it's really having that. And, there are days you're tired. I have children, I have young children in the home. I have a busy job. There are some days when, I just don't want to work out. I don't want to track my food that day. I just want to go upstairs and sit down and have a pizza and skip my workout for that day. And in the old days, I would have done that. I would say before I did this program, those days when I was tired, I would have said, you know what, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And sometimes you put it off and put it off. And yes, of course, you need to listen to your body at times. And there have actually been times within this program when I have said, you know what, I just can't. I don't feel good today. I'm going to shift my workout today. I'm going to, adapt and overcome. But 99% of the time, I push through those challenges. And so even when, I've had various challenges in my personal life over the course of this program. I went through a breakup with my fiance, and so that's been a change in my in my family life and things like that. And so so in some ways, actually, I've really held on to this program too as my North Pole, as my North Star, as my guiding light, as it were, to say, look, these are all the good things that are happening in my life. These are the good things that I can control. I can control what I put in my mouth. I can control my workouts. I can control the level of effort that I put into my children and my daily work. And so, I've really, really jumped onto those. So in the face of those challenges, I tried not to back away. But yes, if anybody looks at my results and says, oh man, this guy must have found this really easy, I can promise you it's far from easy, but boy, has it been worth it.
Daniel, that it really touches me when you share that, because it brings me back to the moments and some of the conversations we had. In my book, I talk about, this breakup that I had where I was engaged and, I went sideways, didn't work. And I was completely crushed because this was part of my identity. This was the person that I was with through all of college. Like I kind of grew up with this person in many ways. And then my identity is just completely crushed. I'm like, I don't know who I am if I'm not in this relationship, because I'd never been really outside of that relationship. And I had a lot of growth and mental growth that I needed to do. But in that moment, it's so hard to even think about anything but the relationship being over and the despair and oftentimes the depression that can come along with that. But seeing kind of where you're at now, it just gets me so excited because I know there was some dark moments and it was really difficult. But I guess, how did you manage to overcome and to stay with it? And I know you weren't perfect. Absolutely, you weren't perfect. But how did you manage to roughly stay the course and stay on the road? Because again, the results are incredible. And that's not an easy thing. That's very difficult. And that's something that would derail 99.9% of people.
Yeah. I know when I'd reach out to you, I think one of the things that helped, and you'd recommended some books, and I'm very similar to you in that I like to read, and I felt that, especially during this time in my life, that, my mental health was just as important, if not more so, than my physical health. I'd been focusing very much on physical health, of course, getting into this program, watch what you eat, track what you eat, lift heavy weights, do all the good things. But at the same time, right, what's up here is important. And I think one of the ones actually that hit me and really, really made me double down, I would say, was the Effortless book. And, he talks in the book about how the trip to the pole, and you have the two teams, right? You have the one team who, when the days were good and the skies were bright and blue, they would double down and they would go hard those days. And honestly, that used to be really how I'd work work out. I would be on the days when I felt good, I would get to the gym, and some days I'd put 2 hours in at the gym. And on the dark days, when it was rainy for the team in the book, they would camp and they would wait for the storms to pass. And then you had the other team who, no matter what, if it was a bright sunny day, if it was a fierce storm day, they made sure that they did, I think it was 15 miles in the book, that they always did the same amount every day, and almost the slow and steady, wins the race. And so I read that, and I look back to my prior life and how I approached many things in my life, not only my physical health, but maybe relationship things as well, and said, look, I'm gonna have that change of thinking. And so that for me was one of the key things, was learning about that and really making sure that, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my workouts, I'm going to track my workouts. There were some days I know I'd reached out to you and I said, look, if I have extra energy today, should I go do a second workout? Should I go run around for an hour? And you had given the advice that, hey, just keep it in moderation. It's okay to do a little extra, maybe do a little bit of arm work, but don't go burning yourself out and trying to do those 30 miles in the Antarctic in one day when you can do 15 miles every single day and come out a winner. So that was what I really think was one of the big keys for me of overcoming some of those challenges, is just making sure that I was steady, that I woke up in the morning, I had my breakfast planned, I had my workouts for the day planned, and all the other pieces kind of fell into place, I think.
That's fantastic, man. That's a great book, by the way, Effortless. It's so good. And if there's one message I can get across to people when they first join the program, or even anyone listening here right now, is that it's the consistency that matters more than just about anything else. If you just don't quit, if you just don't give up, you can make a tremendous amount of progress. Now, of course, you're going to need hard work and strategy. You're going to need that combination. You're going to need to adjust and pivot along the way, but you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you're right. Most people are all or nothing, all in, going crazy, 110% effort, or 0% completely off. And by getting that balance, that bit of moderation, that just, I'm going to show up and consistently every single day put in some effort, and I'm not going to burn myself out, that's going to work far better than the opposite approach. You see a lot of people, and I work with a lot of people that do 75 hard, and they're like, 75 hard, I'm going to do it 100%, no doubt, 2 workouts a day. This is crazy. Let's go. And I kind of get excited about that. Like that excites me inside, but I also know through experience that's not the best approach, because we have to do this for the rest of our lives. We have to manage this for not just today, not just tomorrow, not even this year, the rest of our lives. And that 75 hard, 2 workouts a day, crazy, all out or nothing approach doesn't work forever. So we need to come up with something that's going to work for the long term. And I love that you're able to find that sort of that foundation, that solace in just the consistency. And having a routine when you're going through a tough time can often be so comforting, because then you can turn off the brain a little bit at times. You go through the motions, you feel stability, you feel security, and that can often get you to the other side in a lot of things. So, man, I really do appreciate you sharing that story and being open and honest and vulnerable. And I'm just really impressed by you, man. I really am. I'm inspired. I'm impressed by you. I appreciate you so much, because I can relate. And I know how difficult it can be. And I'm just so freaking proud of you for sticking it out, for staying in it, putting one foot in front of the other and making it to the other side. And you're so much better for it. And I appreciate you, man. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's try to shift gears a little bit here and talk about maybe some of the little bit lighter things. So tell me, why was this so important to you? You talked to me early on about wanting to take this, this vacation plan. You want to take this photo on the beach body, the physique, and you posted it, and you looked amazing, right? The photo looks amazing. But what was like? Was it just the 6-pack? Was it wanting to get the confidence? Like, what was it about getting the 6-pack that was so exciting and appealing for you, that kind of drove you as you went through the program?
So I've always been, type A personality. I've always been somebody that pushes myself hard and really tries to, do the best in what I do. And so really, through work, through other areas, through sports and things, I'm very driven. I'm very competitive most of the time. And that works well in like a sport or a team based action there where you can be a part of a team and you can help carry the team. And when it came to working out, I'd always just felt like I'd fallen short a little bit. And, quite frankly, I looked at myself in the mirror. And in fact, one of my, well, actually the mother of my daughter, I always remember back and she would always say to me, like, you have a great shape to your body. She would always say, it's like you have a great base to your body. And I always took that and thought to myself, I'd look in the mirror and be like, man, I feel like I'm like this far away sometimes from really having a great body. And then, like I said, I would do the workout of the month, the newest fad in Men's Health magazine, keto or paleo or whatever it was that week, and never really achieve it. And so that was what I had said to myself, that I feel like this is achievable for me. I just turned 40. I never, ever in my life had anything remotely resembling a six pack. I've always been, in okay shape and relatively slim, but never had, what I would call beach body by any means. And so it was something that I really wanted to do for myself. And maybe that sounds, a little vain there, but it was just something that I knew I could achieve, but I knew I had to focus for it. And so, like you said, I'd set this goal. I was going to the beach, had a beach trip planned in June, and that was kind of my guiding star there, that I said, look, when I get on this trip in June, I'm going to get a picture on the beach and I want to have a six pack abs. And I remember you saying, well, you got to put the work in. That doesn't give you a huge amount of time, so you really have to push yourself. And I really did use that as my, hey, I'm going to go there and I'm going to get this picture and it's going to be on the beach, and I'm going to have a body that I can be proud of. And by golly, I did. So I did.
You definitely did. You achieved it. I mean, you crushed it. You knocked it out of the park. You got the result. You got the photo, and you look fantastic. And I think it's the combination, and you could tell me what you think about this, but the combination of like investing in yourself and kind of putting your back up against the wall, then knowing the outcome that you want, having the crystal clear vision of what it is that you exactly want, and knowing that, and then having some urgency, right? This time frame urgency. I think that triple combination is really powerful for getting you to the outcome. What do you think about that? And do you feel like that was pretty helpful?
I do think it was helpful, but I also think the phased approach that you have in the program, for me was the most helpful. Like if I look back at phase one, for example, 4 weeks, no alcohol, no cheat meals and things. So just some of it's almost in bite-sized pieces. So yes, I do feel like having a time constraint was good, but also just around the breakdown of the program and saying, look, I can do this, right? I can decide to not have a beer for 4 weeks. I can not have a cheat meal for 4 weeks. It's just 4 weeks in my life. And then you get through it, and then you look at the next phase and you say, okay, well, this is only a couple of weeks that I, have to spend on this macro plan, and then I change it up. And so I think, like I said, I think it was a combination of that. I think it was the time constraint, but it was also that you divide the program up into these manageable chunks with and enough changes all the time to keep it fresh. Right? If I'd sat there and you had given me, even with a time constraint, and I had a 120-day plan that really all looked the same. You're going to do the same workout for 4 months. You're going to do the same eating for 4 months. I never would have made it. And so I think it was just keeping it fresh, keeping it new, and then just allowing you pushing us, but allowing us to push ourselves as well. Really made the results.
I love that. And you're exactly right. By chunking things down and breaking things down, people get overwhelmed. All this stuff I got to change. Oh, I got to do this, that, the other thing. And by chunking down and breaking it down to small manageable bites, that way you can attack that portion. And again, to your point, it doesn't feel like it's forever. It's not like, oh my God, I can never have a drink again. It's like you just got to make it the first couple, like the first month. And the reason we do stuff like that is because we're trying to break your patterns. We're trying to break your mindset as well, where people have this mindset of like, if I go to an event, I have to have a drink. If I go out with friends, I have to have a drink. And it's like, well, do you? I mean, maybe you do, and that's great, but we just want you to have your own relationship with whether it's alcohol, sugar, cheat foods, whatever it is. We want you to create your own relationship on your terms. instead of just falling into old behavior, habits, or what society tells you you should be doing. And I love that chunking down, knowing that this is temporary, and then just attacking it and kind of moving through. And a lot of the adjustments and changes we made to the program, yeah, a lot of it's based on science, of course, but a lot of it's based on psychology. A lot of it's based on me doing this for 10 years and observing people's behavior and saying what works, what doesn't, what keeps people interested, what feedback do I get, and what's going to give people ultimately to stay consistent, because that's the most important thing, as I mentioned before. So I love it. So you've gotten incredible results. I mean, just fantastic. And I mean, just a couple of more questions here. Do you feel like it was worth it by the end?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because, for me, the program was great and I had the great results. But for me, the biggest thing that's been worth it is, and you touched on it just a moment ago, it's taught me so many new things, right? It's taught me how to approach eating. It's taught me how to approach a night out with friends when everybody else is drinking, and that, it's okay. Maybe I get a soda water this round. Maybe I will have a beer, but maybe I have a non-alcoholic beer as well. I don't always have to do what I used to do. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, that yes, it was a tough 4 months. It was tough learning and adapting and your body adjusting. But the lifelong lessons that I have, I'll be able to take these and always know relatively how to eat, how to work out, how to adjust up macros and down as I need, if I need to drop body fat or put on muscle mass. So yes, it's not just about the program, it's about the lifelong learning and the lessons that you've learned.
That's fantastic. I love it, because my goal, as corny and crazy as it sounds, is to help as many people like you as possible to, number one, realize their potential, but also to make sure that they live a long, healthy, active life, and they could be an example, a shining example to so many other people like you are. And then I can go help other people, because there's kind of a limit on how many people I can work with and at any given time, because it just takes so much energy to pour into people. So I love that you learn these lifelong lessons and skills that you can take with you, because that's the whole point. You're going to eat for the rest of your life. You're going to ideally work out for most of the rest of your life, and you want to be as active and healthy as you possibly can. So it's learning the foundational skills and learning, right, the mindset to attack these things, not just being told what to do. Because if I just tell you what to do, which we tell you what to do, but if I just did that alone, I'm really doing you a disservice, because you're completely relying on me, and you're not going to be able to manage this on your own when the program's over. And then what? Then you just go back to what you had before. That stinks. We want to make sure that you keep the results forever. And in order to do that, you got to learn some skills, you got to up your education level. And then, of course, we're going to tell you what to do, but also the mindset, the psychology, the education, the knowledge, so you can make adjustments and decisions on your own in the future. So that's fantastic. So tell me, what would you say to somebody who's out there and they're like, well, yeah, it worked for Daniel. He's amazing. He's a superhero, whatever. But I'm struggling and I'm working out and I'm not seeing the results. And I've tried a bunch of different diets, but I just don't know where to go from here. How do they get started? How do they start getting the puzzle pieces together so that they can get to the next level like you did?
Right. Well, and I do get those questions, right? When I go out now and people can see a change in me. And so quite often I do get those questions. Wow, especially since I work from home. And so I might only go to the office every couple of months. And I have seen people and they're like, Daniel, you look great. What have you been doing? Like, how can I do what it is that you're doing? And so I will help give them some pointers. I mean, I've certainly told a lot of people about tonal. I've told a lot of people about you and your program and your book. But I've also, let people know that, it's not easy. I'm not a superhero. I'm not just laying in bed and growing overnight and putting on muscles and getting a six pack, that it requires you to, look at what you're eating, that it requires you to put the effort in and take the action every single day. And so there have been some people that as I've spoken to, and quite frankly, there have been some that I haven't told about the program, because I can tell just from talking to them that they're not ready to put the action in. They're not ready. They want the results, but they don't want to put the work in. And so, so that for me, I think is the big key, that if you want to get started, you have to really want to get it. And, you should go look, you should go speak to Coach Jackson, you should go look on Tonal, you should, look at all the other areas that are available to you, but know that it comes from you. You can't lift the weights for us. That would be great if you could. You can't lift the weights for us. You can't feed us. You're not cooking our meals. It really is all about the action that we take, with the right guidance that I think brings the results.
There's this old saying that it's not the success, right? The result that you get, it's who you become along the way. And I used to think that was just total BS. Like you hear it with entrepreneurship all the time. I think Les Brown said it. He says, it's not the result that you get, it's who you become in the process of getting the result that really matters. And you think, that's just something rich people say. That's BS. That's something people have six packs say. But you've put in the work. You've had to do all these things. Do you feel like that, like if I just gave you the result, if I gave you the six pack, I just feel like you wouldn't appreciate it, but you also wouldn't have all these tools. You wouldn't have all these skills. You wouldn't have the mindset. You wouldn't have the confidence. You wouldn't have all these things because you haven't put in the work to kind of earn the outcome that you've gotten, and you wouldn't have changed along the way. I mean, do you agree with that?
No, I do 100%. I think it's the old adage, right? You can give a man a fish or you can teach him how to fish. It's exactly that. If you were able to write a prescription and say, here's your six pack and things, where you might have it for those days, you might eat for that day, right, with your fish. But if you haven't taught that person how to fish and know how to go feed themselves and their family for long term, the six packs, they don't always stay away, as you and I have, or they don't always stay with you, as you and I have spoken about. It can change depending upon that day, that week, and things. And so, that whether it's muscle mass, six pack, whatever you're going for, you have to continue putting in the work, and you have to continue learning and honing those skills as you go forward. So, like I said earlier, I think that's the biggest key. That it's not about the results. The results are great and they're fantastic and they're more than I would hope for. But for me, it has been about learning and knowing that now, okay, where am I going to be a year from now? Where am I going to be 5 years from now? It's actually really exciting when I look and, I look at the changes in my body and think, wow, if I've done this in 4 months, if I keep putting in a similar level of consistency and effort, where could I be in 4 years from now, or even just a year from now, or 8 months from now? Yeah, so that's a big key, is just the learning and making sure that you pick up those tools along the way.
I appreciate you for saying that, because so many people think it is just about the six pack, and it's like that's the trophy on the mantle. That's awesome, but that's a byproduct, and that is just a bonus for all the skills, the knowledge, the education, the mindset, everything else. That's the good stuff, and that's the stuff that's going to serve you as you move into the future, so you can handle things like breakups or obstacles or a death in the family or anything else. I remember just a couple of years ago when my mom passed, and that was just a horribly traumatic event. But there was a lot of people in our family who were just, I mean, they were just completely just destitute over it, and just completely broken. And I got up there and I wrote a eulogy, a long one, of course. I gave the speech in front of everybody. I did it. I didn't break down. I managed to get through it. And people said to me, "Oh my God, how could you have done this? I couldn't even imagine writing this, let alone getting up and speaking in front of everybody and getting this out. How did you do it?" And yes, I was completely distraught over it. I was very sad. I was very upset. But number one, it was very therapeutic to do that. But number two, it's because I've gone through the ringer before. I've been through really difficult times, and I believe and I trust in myself so much that I knew I could do it. And I also wanted to make my mom proud. And there was something about wanting to do something to make somebody proud also that is like really incredibly motivating. So I think it's who you become in the process, and all these skills, they allow you to really do the good stuff in life, to enjoy life and to overcome all life's obstacles, not just take photos on the beach, although that's a cool bonus. So last thing here is I just want to acknowledge you again and say thank you for trusting me, for the hard work, for everything you did, for being active in the community, for posting your beach photo and everything, and for really being vulnerable and open and honest here today. And again, for reaching out to me when you were going through a tough time, because not everybody always reaches out and wants to be vulnerable like that, especially a lot of men. They feel like, oh, this is weak. No, I'm not going to do it. But you did. And I appreciate it, because we need to rely on other people sometimes. And as Arnold Schwarzenegger said, no man or woman is self-made. We all need people to help us along the way. I've had so many people help me along the way, and I'm just so committed to helping people like you. And I'm just so thankful that you committed, you joined, you put in the effort, and that you got the outcome. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm so impressed. Thank you so much, Daniel. Any last final words or goodbyes?
And thank you, Coach. I mean, we all in the community have a lot to thank you for. I was actually talking about it yesterday with a community member, and around, we both, she recently finished too, and around, we both came into the program, expecting a physical training program, right? A coach that you could work with, that you've seen on Tonal, that, you yell at when you're working out because he's really frustrating. He's telling jokes while you're sweating everywhere. And we expected that we would come into this and find, a coach and a program that would help us with our physical fitness, and tell us, help tell us what to eat, what to lift, and when. I think what I didn't expect, and what many of us didn't expect, is all the other pieces that come along with it. And I really do look at, the mental growth that I think many of us in the community are going through, the other things that you do, such as the Mindset Monday and the Win Wednesday. And it really is, for me, it's a life improvement program. It's far more than just, the physical part of it. And so that's been, so thank you for everything that you do for all of us. And thank you for going well above and beyond what I think any of us would expect from, the coach with the six pack on the tonal. So thank you.
You're welcome, Daniel. It is literally my honor to serve you. It really is. Thanks again. I appreciate you.